like foundational knowledge base is because learning is like entering a pitch black cave with only a flashlight, okay, and the flashlight is your mind, is you, because you're learning it, right? Your brain is learning it, and whatever you know, your pre-existing knowledge is what you have to relate the new knowledge with. So, i.e., that's a flashlight in a pitch black cave, to connect the analogy. And what a knowledge base does, a foundational knowledge base does, is it brightens the flashlight and makes it bigger. Do you see what I'm saying? And it makes the whole learning and navigating through the pitch black cave just that much easier.
No, yeah, I completely agree with you. That's exactly why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
But to wrap it up, or I guess go back to our original idea, the idea of fear.
Fear, yeah.
John, we got a little sidetracked with that. It was a good conversation. I'll tell you this. Do you think, I mean, you obviously agree with me, but isn't it a thing that you start to notice how they sell college to people? Just to keep tying it back in that. Dude, the people that I've talked about to, at least here, especially here, they just say like, oh yeah, I have to go to college because if you don't go to college, then you're not going to get a job. And if you don't get a job, you're not going to get money. If you're going to get money, your life basically is going to collapse. That's a tactic of fear that...
I mean, yeah, it does evoke fear, for sure.
Yeah, I would say that's a... The people that I've talked to a few people in LMU back in the first few years, that they really shouldn't be spending their money on that, man.
On college.
They are having such a hard financial time, and this is so expensive. It is, I can say this with certainty, it was not worth their investment, because the amount of time it's going to take them to pay off everything, and then even if they can accumulate it back, which some people graduate college and they never do, it's just ridiculous, man.
No, yeah.
And it's all out of fear, because they don't, I don't know many people that don't like college. It's not like people enjoy going to college. A lot of people dread the experience and find it a little, not just disappointing, but lacking in terms of tickling your mind. If that makes any sense.
I'm not sure.
It doesn't entice you to learn the things that you would otherwise be enticed to learn.
Yeah, like once you're in college.
Yeah, because everything gets cluttered. You have the problem with bad professors and just a number of things.
Yeah.
But it all stems out of fear, in the way I see it, at least.
I mean, I definitely think that's a huge element, huge part of it.
I mean, it's not the only thing, but it's one of the...
Because the other side of the same story is what else? I mean, there are, as we all know, there are alternatives. It's not that if you don't go to college, you're not going to get a job. It's not like that. The majority of the people in the world don't go to college.
Right.
It's still, globally speaking, it's a niche activity, but in the US, or I mean, I guess in the first world, that's a more appropriate reference point. It's more of a, I mean, advertising has done its part, but the alternatives, they just aren't, they haven't, they haven't become, people aren't educated enough on the alternatives such that they may pursue that path.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. The alternative is there, it's just not a very traveled path. It's not that easy to see.
And it's exactly. It's not very easy to see, and
a lot of people are not willing to put the commitment required. Yeah. So one thing college will do is it'll make going to class, it'll make it dreadful and learning dreadful, but you still have to go. Now imagine if you could educate people and telling them, hey, you don't have to study all these things. You can study whatever you like.
Yeah.
And just that same feeling, just have it. There's going to be good days and bad days for learning. I'm telling you this out of experience from all the stuff that we've been doing on the building of the simple school.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, man, it's a much better learning. I don't think I would ever have learned any of this if it was compulsory in college.
Because because it's intrinsically motivated. Because in college, you're doing everything for the degree. You're not doing because you want to do it.
Exactly.
And then you're not going to learn anything because you're not doing it because you want to do it in the first place. So like, it's like it's a circular phenomenon. You go to college because other people have told you that's how you get a job. But so then you don't think about it. You're like, okay, I need to get a job, and this is what they've told me, so I'll do it. And then, to be fair on them, nobody else has told them that, oh, you know what, you can do this as well. So they're like, okay, and most people just do what other people do. That's just how the human mind operates.
Right.
I mean, it's unfortunate circumstance. So it's really hard to like put the blame on anyone, because I mean, to be completely honest, this is hypothetical. I could be completely wrong, but if I was in the place of the person responsible who's advertising college, I would have done the exact same thing.
Oh, 100%.
I would have.
It's a wise business decision. You can overprice a arbitrarily priced something. You basically get to put a price tag on knowledge for anybody who's not willing to look out for it anywhere else. And most people don't. Like, most people, not most people, but some people will laugh at the thought of saying, oh, I learned something on the internet. Like, I learned this skill on the internet. They're like, oh, you didn't learn anything. When in reality, learning in the internet, excepting a few good experiences that I've had in college, learning in the internet is extremely more efficient if you know how to search the internet. And that's one of our modules. Courses, no?
I mean, it could be. Yeah, sure. It could be. The last chapter of the book, it's a practical guide to do self-education. So like, I'll give you what I have so far. So step 1 is get your mind and body in order. Get your physical well-being in order. Because if your body's not functioning, your physical body's not functioning well, you can't do any effective learning, because learning is a physical activity. It's like saying, because scientifically, okay, this is a fact. When you learn, it's a physical alteration of neurons. Neurons in your brain, the nerve cells, they literally grow. They literally grow bigger. They grow more connections with one another. So it's a very physical activity. It's like saying it's exactly like going to the gym. So if you go to the gym with a shitty ass body, with like, and when I say shitty, I don't mean like fat or anything. I mean just that's not one that has been physically used in any recent times. So one that has been very sedentary for a long period of time. You're gonna have a hard time in the gym. Do you know what I mean? And the same thing applies to learning. If you don't have a healthy body, no effective learning is going to happen, and then naturally you're going to say, oh, I didn't learn it because I can't learn it, or stuff like, or some other excuse. So step 1 is get your physical body in order. Then step 2 is remember the principles. Now there are a whole list of principles which I can't remember right now on the top of my head, but I'll give you a couple of them. So one is understand that learning is an exponential function. So what that means is, I'll ask you, I'll put it to you in a question, just to make this interactive. Let's say, in a pond, okay, there's a lily pad, and the lily pad, every hour, it doubles. Okay, so it's an exponential function, it doubles.
Right.
At hour 10, okay, at hour 10, so 10 hours have passed since there's been 1, it's full. Hour 10 is full. Hour 0 is 1, hour 10 is full. In which hour is it half full? I'm asking, that's the question.
And which hour what?
So hour 0, there's one lily pad, and at hour 10,
It's full.
it's full.
The pond.
Yeah.
So what are you asking?
At which hour is it half full?
You would need to give me some pen and paper, man. It's a
No,
thing.
just it's. I mean, it's a. I mean, all you need for this question, just take a guess. It's at the hour 0, it's one lily pad. It increases hourly as an exponential function. It doubles. At hour 10, it's full.
Okay.
At what hour is it half full? Just take a
4?
guess. No, not at all. That's a perfect example how, and a good example of why people very easily misunderstand exponential functions. At hour 9, it's half full. And hour 10 is full. So what that means when I say learning is an exponential function is, let's take the same numbers. At hour 0, you started learning something. Could be anything. And hour 10, you learned everything. Hypothetically, you can't learn everything, but just for theory's sake, you get what I'm saying. Hour 10, you learn everything. Hour 0, you learn nothing. You have learned nothing. And if you stop at hour 8, if you stop at hour 9, you've missed half of what you could have learned. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So learning is an exponential function. That means you have to see it through. That means in the first 9 hours, you learn half of it, but and it seems deceiving because you're like, I spent 9 hours on this thing, 9 units of time, and I've only learned half. It's going to take me so long to learn the whole thing. But that's the beauty and curse of exponential functions. At hour 10, just one additional hour, you miss a whole half of what you could have learned. You see what I'm saying?
I see.
So that's a principle that you have to remember. Because if you don't remember that, you quickly get discouraged and you stop. And that's what happens to most people. They learn something for a bit, they don't see anything they don't see any progress, they stop. Then they try something else. So they end up just learning very little of a lot of things, and they don't end up going anywhere. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's a very important principle. Like and it relates to self-education because learning, like I said, is a exponential function. And what else? I mean, whatever. There are other principles. So one other principle is learn to delay gratification, because that's going to be a tough one for most people. But learning is anything but instant. It doesn't happen like that. It takes time. You got to get used to being bored. You're gonna get bored. That's it. That's like.
You know, a good phrase that I find for learning.
A what?
Especially a good mantra, if you will.
Okay.
That I find helps me in learning, especially complex things. When you're feeling comfortable about being uncomfortable with something, then you've gotten to a point where you're gonna keep the rhythm. But you have to learn how to be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it can get overwhelming, man. Just when you're starting out something, it looks so daunting.
Yeah.
And it looks incredibly hard depending on what you're trying, but for most things that are worth learning, it won't be easy.
Yeah.
And you just have to learn how to.
How have you coped with it? Like, for example, like you said, that sometimes things you have to learn to be comfortable with uncomfort, right?
Yeah.
With discomfort. How do you cope with it? How have you coped with it?
Well, in my experience, the more you try to get out of that uncomfortable place, the better you'll get. It's an exponential, well, not, but it's a progression thing. And the internet can help you get a lot of out of a lot of uncomfortable situations when you're trying to learn something new. Just keep looking. You get better at looking. And once you find enough stuff, you start to believe that, I feel like I can't go on, or I don't know. But the answer is out there. And I found all these answers before then. So I'll figure this out.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot with coping.
Yeah. No.
Especially when I get discouraged. I mean, you might have to take a break. It's not like you have to be, learning is also having your life balanced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not all you do, but if you learn right, you get pretty good at learning. It's funny, dude. It goes in smaller to bigger units. You have to learn how to get out of the uncomfortable situation. It'll help you learn. And the more you learn, the easier you'll get to learn new things because you already know what to expect.
It's feedback loop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Positive feedback.
Yeah. No, for sure. And then that's another good principle. Like it's a feedback loop. I mean, I would say you could also categorize it just by saying practice. It's just the more you do it, the more
better you're at.
The better you get at it. Yeah. And okay, so those are the first step is get your body and mind, your physical well-being in order. Second is remember the principles. Now there are other principles as well, but I'm not going to get into that now.
Okay.
Now third is you need to identify what you want to learn. Because a lot of people what I see is they have this vague idea of what they want to learn, and they begin just based on that vague idea, and then they don't get anywhere, and then they're surprised. So like you need to have a very concrete end goal. So for example, if you want to learn, let's take coding for example. It's like saying, I want to learn coding, so I'm gonna start learning coding. Like it doesn't work like that, right? You need to know what in coding do you want to learn.
Yeah, people tend to try to take on broad categories of things.
Exactly. So that's step 3. You need to figure out what you want to learn, and this part, a corollary of this step is, after you know what you want to learn, you need to break it into the first principles. So for example, once you know that, okay, I want to learn coding, and side note to this, all you have to do is just expose yourself to information. Doesn't have to be true or false. You don't have to be sure that this is valuable information you're consuming. You just have to consume any information on the topic, because at the end there will always be some, when you're in this early stage of learning, when you know absolutely nothing, anything you consume will be beneficial to you, because you by definition don't know anything. So just by exposing yourself to all different, it could be shitty people who don't know what they're talking about, but because you know nothing, they will know more than you. So just consume all this random information, through which you can piece together, okay, this is what I want to learn, and in order to get there, I need to do step X, Y, and Z. So for coding, it would be, okay, I want to learn web development, and in order to web development, I need to know frameworks, or to be good at web development, I need frameworks. Now, in order to know frameworks, I need to know programming languages. Now, since I want to do web development, and let's say front end, I have to learn HTML, CSS. Now I need to learn HTML, CSS. I need to first learn English and math. So you saw I broke it down to first principles, like all the way to know what I need to do first to get to where I need to go. Now, that goes to the next step. Now that's your map. Now you have a map as to, okay, this is what I'm learning, this is how I get there. And now next step, you start by identifying the people. Like, who are you going to learn from? And once you have a core of people you want to learn from, then you start learning. People jump to this learning step, before they do all the first stuff, and then they think they're not going to get anywhere. They think they're going to get somewhere, but they don't end up getting anywhere. And then it's absorb information. Next step is actually put it into action, and then just repeat the process. And that's how you learn.
I